Welcome to Productive Joy with Dr. Christie, where fun meets action.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Productive Joy. I have a new friend to introduce you to. Her name is Danielle Bornowski, and Danielle runs the gamut. She is all about growth strategy. She has an intentional marketing plan that we all probably need to adopt. She is a CEO, but she's also a mom CEO, and that's important. She helps create sustainable revenue, and she is an old school Jeep person, not like a rubber ducky Jeep person, but like an actual Jeep person where you take the top down for half a year. Love that. She is also very into chickens, which we may find out some information about. She loves anything and everything that puts her outside, land or just wind in her hair kind of girl. And today she's our guest on Productive Joy. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
Yeah, this is going to be just outright fun. And we have to convince other people that it's going to be fun. So what would you say to them in like 30 seconds or less that would make people go, oh my gosh, yes, I can't wait for this episode?
Yeah. So I treated my backyard chickens like a marketing strategy client, and they turned into a profitable waitlist business. And they're the best case study I could probably have ever had for my business.
Okay, wait, hold on. Did you name the chickens? I need to know.
Most of the chickens have names. The ones that don't have names, it's because they are still sort of on the wait list. They're adoptable and ready for a family to name them.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much. Okay, so where did it start, Danielle? Because you didn't start with using chickens to build your business, but where did you start that got you to this point? Because everybody's got a story.
Yeah. So my background is actually in nonprofit PR and communications. And I told myself, it's a money story I've had to unpack over the years, but I told myself I would be poor and work in nonprofits forever. And I did probably 10 years, maybe a decade or so after college graduation of working in nonprofits, and loved it, and worked at, names that you would recognize, Boys and Girls Clubs and Girl Scouts of Central Texas, and was working for a local here in Austin organization. I was sitting in church one day and looked over at my husband and said, I'm going to quit my job tomorrow. And he was like, okay. So that was, that would have been May of 2019. So we're just coming up on 7 years as of this recording. And, we certainly had a conversation that day, but basically without any plan or understanding of what was happening, launched a business. And here we are, like I said, 7 years later, going strong.
Oh, what gave you the guts to do that? Like, did you just feel a calling of, okay, I'm not in the right seat and I need to be somewhere else? Or did something nudge you? What happened?
Yeah. So I had been my organization had been undergoing a strategic plan, and I felt a little bit unsettled. I just felt like, a lot of it was around communications, and I didn't feel like I was the right person to be doing that. But I have not been somebody if you had told me, earlier that year that I would have been an entrepreneur and started a business, I just would have laughed at you. I still struggle sometimes to call myself an entrepreneur. So I was feeling a little bit unsettled, like I'm just not the right person for this. And whoever is going to implement this plan needs to be the one to help write it. So I felt that, but really I don't even remember the scripture that was happening that we were preaching in the sermon that day, but it really was just, I just felt like God was calling me to do something more. And that this just wasn't the thing that it was. And what I've since kind of come to reflect on, I love sort of being a translator. So what do people know about themselves and their business, and and everybody hates sales and marketing, right? Like nobody, the thing I hear most is I hate to sell myself. So I could be rich if I got money every time I heard that. But I realized that I was really good at kind of translating what we needed to do and why we needed to do it to make it feel more comfortable. And that was how we started to build that business. And so it was really, it was just this calling. This isn't quite right. I don't exactly know what is, but okay, God, like something has to shift, and I'm going to just step out in it. And I mean, in 7 years, he's opened a lot of doors and he's closed a lot of doors. And I've learned so much. There are a lot of things that who was supposed to tell me this about running a business, filing state franchise tax and, all kinds of things, but it's been such an adventure.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so where did the chickens come in? Because at some point you had this metaphor sitting in front of you and off you went.
Yeah. So the chickens, we've had backyard chickens for several years. We live on a couple of acres out in the country. And it was my husband's idea. He would take eggs in, when we had extras, take them into his office, and people would they would run, like literally beeline to the kitchen to get these eggs. And we care so much, and we love to be outside. We care so much about the experience. Like, we wanted people to know the chickens. We love telling the stories of these chickens. They all have names and they have personalities. And so it's fun to bring people closer to their food, right? Farm to table. And so my husband, after one of those days, said, what if we brought people into that fold with us and let people adopt the chickens, but we raise them? Like, there are people in HOAs in Austin who can't have chickens, but appreciate farm fresh eggs and organic. So what if we let them poop on our porch and they get the benefits of naming the chicken? They get to come visit the chicken. They get text and picture updates about this chicken. And they're much, we're not just selling eggs. They're much more bought into this experience. And at first, I struggle with change. At first, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then I just sat in it for a minute, was like, no, you are brilliant. And so we just tossed the idea out. I threw together a flyer, tossed it out to a couple of people that we knew, and people were like, yes. And so I think we had a dozen chickens at that time. So we handpicked the ones that like are our chickens, right? Like, they're legit. I mean, my kids have, Airplane is one of their chickens. Like, nobody can have Airplane. And so, it had it. Well, girl, I could tell you the names, man.
I do want to hear the names.
So
that is very important.
I am happy to share. So we got, we had these kind of a couple of chickens that weren't like ours. They were just general chickens. And all of a sudden, these people wanted in. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a thing. So we call our chicken dealer, because we have a chicken
dealer. Oh my gosh, so many good pieces of information here. Okay, so yes, the chicken dealer.
Call the chicken dealer. We get some new hens, and what you have to do if you're not raising them from chicks. So that's what makes her our dealer, is that we don't have to raise them from chicks, that we get them. She loves to raise them as chicks, but then she has too many adult hens.
Oh.
So we take them when they're already laying. So there's no lag time or anything. We just get these laying hens. So what you have to do to integrate them, it's very like snatch and grab. And he's like, you got to wear all black and stuff. You go right at dusk when they're about to roost up. You snatch these chickens, and then by the time you get home, it's dark, and you just shove them in the coop overnight with your other chickens. They can't see each other. They have no idea. They wake up in the morning. They're all just sitting here sleeping together. They walk out the coop door and they go on their merry way. Otherwise, there's the pecking order. It's there's a lot of I mean, we could do a whole season, Christie, on just chicken
my gosh.
culture. But there we are.
I love it.
We get more chickens, and then we have people who are like, I want in too. And I'm like, well, I just integrated these new hens into my flock. I can't do this. I have to wait a month in between. So I'm like, I'll do a wait list. Great. In the meantime, my marketing strategy brain is going nuts. So I'm creating a directory of chickens, their breed and their pictures, because people need to choose their hen.
Yeah, adopting a dog, only you don't have to feed it. Like, this is great.
Exactly. Yes. So I'm doing that, and I'm creating adoption certificates and, all these things, and people are loving it. And then, so all of a sudden we've got this, it's more than paying for our feed bill every month. And we've got these happy people. And so we did that a couple of times. I think we've pulled people off of a wait list 3 or 4 times. This started last March. So it's been a little over a year. And we got young hens last May. So they've started laying and everything at this point. So we're bringing more people in off the wait list. And the chickens have their own Instagram account, because we got too many people who started needing updates about their chickens. So they got their own Instagram account that is run by the hens. And it has just turned into this crazy thing. And I essentially treated them like a client. So how do we create a customer experience? How do we, communicate regularly? What does the sale look like? How do we nurture the people so that they want to stay engaged and connected? How do we efficiently, operationalize this so that it can run on its own? So I have a custom GPT that I've trained in every chicken's personality. So I'll shoot a little clip of photo or a little clip of video. I go to the GPT and I say, here's what the content of that is. And it spits out this caption that rarely needs editing, because I've trained it so well. So then I'm just putting it in and then copy and pasting and uploading it to Instagram. And so it's pretty low maintenance. And it just, we looked back one day and was like, this is a wild case study. I just treated it like a client and it's so fun.
Oh, okay, so much to unpack here. So let's
So
start
much.
with you leaned into your unique genius and you made something that you genuinely enjoyed profitable. And that, I mean, my phrase is if you don't make work fun, people quit, right? Like we quit things that aren't fun. And you just said it without any prompting. This is so fun because you took the things that you knew you were good at and something that you enjoyed and you married the two. So kudos to you. I would call that productive joy, but we're going to get your definition of that in just a second. But the other thing that really is impressive is this now has fueled your business for marketing, which is what you set out to do, right? Like what you quit your job to do, because it is such a cool case study. So well done, my friend. I am totally fascinated and excited to get chicken updates because that's very important. So before I ask anything else, I need people to be able to find your chicken account because we got to start there. So how would somebody find you if they wanted to follow right now?
Yes. So the chickens are on on Instagram, and they are at nest_and_nonsense. So nest and nonsense with underscores as the spaces. It'll also pop up if you search Bornowski hens, but my name's kind of tricky. So nest and nonsense is easier.
I don't know. Your name is spelled phonetically. So if somebody just took a minute, Bornowski is not that difficult. Okay.
Yes. But at first you're like, oh, I don't know about
Well,
this.
it did take me a minute and I did invert the R and the O the first time and then realized, no, that's not right. So, oh my gosh. Okay. So Bernowski hens or nest and nonsense, all underscores. Ah, so fun. Okay. So that's super important. And I need you to tell our friends because although most of them do not have their own chickens, my daughter would very much like to have chickens, but she does not yet. Most of our friends that are listening right now might not have chickens, but they can totally lean into the idea of taking something that you do have and marketing it for others and making it something that they need and want, right? I would call that a version of productive joy, but I want you to get to define it. So if you had to define productive joy, how would you define it?
Well, I do. I think that I have been able to do that. And that's what makes this such a fun conversation. Like, of course, we need to talk about this. Like, I love marketing strategy and I love talking about chickens. And what's so cool is that, I mean, I light up to talk about either one of those things, but there are a million marketing strategists out there. And so the chickens bring a cool differentiator, but it's like I get to show up and talk about the things that I love to do. I mean, I take a break to go, walk around and do content, and the chickens are right there. I'm like, oh, y'all are part of this content. I mean, it's just I'm doing the things that I do. I absolutely love to do, and it lights me up. And that's what just not repels. It's the opposite. It just magnetizes, right? Like it just brings in people get so excited to talk about this other thing than just business. And it's not just this transactional conversation I have with people because they ask about the chickens a lot. That's usually the first thing people ask. How are the chickens? I'm like, well, they're great. I'm also fine. Thank you for asking.
Jane, that you're concerned.
Yes. But I feel like, yes, I feel like with the chickens, we have done that. We have built productive joy because it is moving the needle on the business. It's bringing people closer to the farm, like I said, the farm to table concept, and it lights me up.
Oh, well, that's clear. And it is so fun to be around people who have found that thing, right? That elusive where fun meets action moment where you're like, but I do actually enjoy this and I can make some money doing it so that it can pay for itself. Like you said, it more than pays for feed. And it's fun. We do quit things that aren't fun, but I think everybody gets their own definition, right? Like I don't know that it would be my definition of fun to have how many chickens now? You mentioned a dozen before you integrated new hens.
We've got 36 right now.
36 sweet little chickens. Oh my gosh. And one of them is named Airplane. We know that. We're going to learn more names in just a second. So that's your definition of fun. And I love that. I'm going to ask you that question later too, because I think it's also important that we recognize that we're not all designed to do exactly the same thing. but we are designed to lean into the things that we're good at. And I know that's really part of your marketing strategy, right? Is to be yourself, to just be able to put yourself out there in the way that you would. So, what advice would you have for our listeners who might want a different marketing strategy or might want to lean in on something that they think, well, nobody's going to be interested in this? What would you say to them to convince them to lean into who they are?
I love this question, Christy. So the thing that, I feel myself posturing up a little bit when I get excited and talking about the chickens. Like I take a deep breath because I have so much to say. And so for listeners, whatever that is, what are you super excited to talk about? What do you want people to ask you about? What do you wish people knew about you? Think about that kind of a thing. And how do you make those connections? I mean, I have 4,000, kind of pun things of like, a marketing strategy connected to chicken eggs. They all have the same components, but they're different colors and sizes and shapes and, silly little things like that. But it's like, where can you draw those connections and bring that into whatever business that you have or whatever you are doing? Because when you show up in that way, people are magnetized, right? I mentioned that people love this, having these conversations with me about the chickens. And it's because they just feed off of the energy that I have. And so when you are just kind of operating on somebody else's strategy or, you bought an out of the box marketing solution or you listen to a podcast and said, this is the thing for me because they said it should work. And it doesn't, if you're not fully in on it or it's not fully the right thing for you, you're not going to show up in that energy. You're not going to show up in that way. And on the receiving end, people feel that. They can feel either your resistance or your lack of confidence. And so then it's probably not going to work. And that feels crummy because you feel like you put yourself out there, you tried the thing and it didn't work. But really, it's that you didn't get to show up in your own way doing that.
Mm.
And so that would be my advice. That's like, I would never 2 years ago, I wouldn't have thought of bringing the chickens into the marketing, right? Like I just talked about it on the side to business friends and it became a thing.
Yeah.
And so just sit with that and be emboldened to do that because there are 1,000 marketing strategists, a million of them probably, but I am the marketing chicken lady and I totally own that space and it's awesome.
I love the way you said that. So, fun fact, I'm not the chicken lady, I'm the sticker lady. So, I have been giving, oh, that's not a good example. Hold on. Scratch and sniff stickers to adults for the last 20 years. And it is shocking how effective being the sticker lady is. And I know that I get to be that person because it's who I am, right? You're the chicken lady, I'm the sticker lady. We have to be something that we're able to fully lean into. And that could be, you're a grandma or you're whatever. But I don't think we do that enough. And I think it's because, and I want your opinion on this, I think it's because we're a little afraid to stand out, even though that's 100% what we need to be doing, right? We want to fit in the mold and be okay with that. But that's not what gets you noticed, right?
Totally. I have been that person, trying to fit into a perfect mold or, like just do what everybody else is doing. And it does feel like there's safety there, right? Kind of safety in numbers. But I'll tell you, like I love to guest on podcasts. And there was one that I, sent an email to the host to see if I could be on it. And he replied to me and he said, you sound like every other marketing strategist out there. What makes you different? And at first it was like gut punch, like, oh my gosh. I mean, I totally took it personal, which is not the case. I mean, he wants to provide value on his show. And absolutely, I want him to provide value. And if it's not me, then I shouldn't be on. But then after a pause, I was like, what does make me any different? This is before the chickens really became a thing. And it was a hard, thing to kind of sit with. But then it was like, wait a minute, he's right. And I want to be different and I want to show up in a way that is memorable. And I want to show up in a way that adds value to people. And I'll say one thing too, kind of connected to that. Is anybody listening is thinking, right, but Danielle, you were able to, like bring your business into the chickens, right? So this couldn't work for you, but maybe my, uniquely need doesn't perfectly fit in there. But here's the thing, like It doesn't have to. They do business with people they know, like people they trust. They do business with people. And so when you show up in that authentic energy, your authentic self, they trust you. And that is what matters to them. If they don't trust you, they're not going to do business with you. So when you show up as the grandma or the sticker lady or, the Pomeranian person or whatever it is, like people remember that and they have that trust and rapport with you. And so when they are ready to do whatever the business is that you do, you're the person they're going to call. And that's what's most meaningful in this. Not necessarily that whatever your fun side thing is directly fueling your business, but that trust and rapport that you're building.
Well, and you just said a few things that I'm learning, right? So it's like you knew my questions ahead of time, which you did. But that authenticity piece, right? Like, well, how do you know that you're showing up as your authentic self is a question that we're going to get to in a few minutes. And I heard something recently that I think marries what you just said, and that's that authenticity is actually really just consistency. Can people predict how you're going to show up and what you're going to say and how you're going to say it? And when something is way off, they're going to know something's off, right? Because you've become consistent, predictable, not overly scripted, but that consistency piece is what you're creating. So I know that if I reach out to Danielle, I can ask her about the chickens, and that gives us common ground and makes things less awkward from the word go, right? I know I can ask Christie for a scratch sticker, and chances are good she's going to have one on her, which is, again, ridiculous. And yet it works for me. So I'm saying all of that to say to our listeners, you've got a thing. I don't know what it is. Maybe you always have gum in your purse, right? Or maybe you're the one that's always asking about how people are, or you're taking care of the humans around you. Lean into that, because when you lean into that, you get to become what you set out to become. Now, what you practice is what you get good at, right? So that's the other side to this coin is you could get really good at being the curmudgeon-y, nothing's going to work, or the judgmental person, or, it's all about what you practice. So how do you make sure that it stays positive or stays to be something that others would want? That's a tough question.
Yeah. Well, at first, I wrote that down. I love that. The authenticity connected to consistency. And I think that's absolutely, I love connecting that. So I think to answer your question, if you feel resistance to it, you aren't going to want to repeat it. So you won't have that consistency, which is the predictability that people connect. So, I think there's a difference now. Okay. Again, everybody says, I hate selling myself, like sales is the worst. And I have so much appreciation for that. And certainly have felt that way myself. But when there's a difference between this is a growth moment and it's just a little bit uncomfortable and like slam on the brakes. This is not authentic to who I am. Like, if you are like a true introvert and it really gives you the shakes and an ulcer to think about turning your camera on and recording a video, then podcast guesting and video, TikTok and Instagram are not going to be the strategies that I put, or the tactics I put in your strategy, because that's not going to work. You're going to feel icky about it all the time. Yeah. But if you have a feeling where, I think I kind of can gauge it with my clients where I'm like, I'm sensing some resistance. You're pausing a little bit. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've just never done that before. Okay, fair. Are you curious about it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm curious. Okay, so that's just like, we can work through that. So let's think about, how we set you up for success. A video is the example. But if you feel something that you're like, I don't know how I would get that done. I don't know the details. Those are the kinds of things that are like, okay, I'm curious, but it's going to be a growth opportunity. And of course, growing, life is a growth opportunity, right? If we are moving forward, there's lots of those. But if you feel in the pit of your stomach that you're like, maybe I should just like, if you're an entrepreneur, if I suggest something to you or you're, considering something and you're like, maybe I should just go back and work for someone else, that is a red flag for me. That's like, that's not a tactic we should explore. Let's find something else that's going to move you forward that feels more comfortable. Yeah.
So many important things said there. And I think the biggest one is that not all friction is bad, right? But the kind of friction that stops you in your tracks is something you need to explore, because maybe you are taking the wrong tactic. But that little bit of friction that says, I don't know how to do this. So are you a Brene Brown fan by chance? Have you ever listened to anything Brene Brown?
Yes.
Love her. Okay, so when she first started podcasting, she actually talked about the FFT. So I'm not going to say what the first F is, but you can imply that it's the F in first time. And everybody has that, right? We all have the FFT, the very first time we have to do something, and it's hard and it does create friction and it is a scary place. And yet, if you call it what it is, this is the first time I've done this. I've never recorded a video before. I don't know what I would say or whatever. If you can push past the first time, the second time's just a little bit easier. And the third time's a little bit easier than that. And all of a sudden, you're not having an FFT anymore. You're having a, I know what to do. And that's the part that you have to push past. But without friction, we don't get better. We have to have that little bit of push pull in order for us to be successful. Thank you for creating that for people. That's pretty awesome.
It's so much fun. I love it.
Well, and that's clear. Okay, but I promised myself, I didn't promise anybody else, but they're probably just as excited as I am, that we would learn some chicken names. So I'm going to need some really great, like, and then the people that adopt the chickens get to name the chickens. Is that accurate?
They do.
The first however many you named, including airplane, but then after that they named them. So what are some of your favorites? I know you're not supposed to have favorites, but...
Yeah. Okay. No, of course we do. So Airplane is a fan favorite. Airplane is my boy's chicken. She will ride on my son's handlebars. She will sit on my shoulder and just explore. She's friendly. You can poke and prod her and hold her upside down and she doesn't get angry. So she's like the ultimate, she's like the black lab, like the family lab,
Yes.
of chickens. We've had pickles and pistachio. I think we were hungry when we named them. We have, so one of the adopted chickens, her name is Miss Aurora H. Fancy Pants.
Love.
She was named by a family of kiddos who at the time were 3 and 6, so 3-year-old twin girls and a 6-year-old brother. We have grown adults who we have a Catherine Finburn.
Sure.
And she very much matches her personality. And a lot of the chickens, I have another chicken who's been adopted, and her personality matches the woman who adopted her, and she just adopted her based on looks, like hadn't actually met her in person, but they're very like just regal, and she likes to sit up high. Her name is Abigail. Sit up high and like look over her, perch. And my friend is just really classy and visits England a lot, and I mean it's just so funny. So we also have Miss Trunchbull, if you're of the era to remember Matilda.
Yes.
She got her name because she is broody. And so for those who are listening that don't know, broody is when it's essentially like the cycle where they become maternal. So they'll lay an egg and then they want to sit on the egg to hatch the egg to turn into a baby. And we actually only got our first rooster maybe in the last 3 or 4 months, which is a whole nother probably podcast episode on itself. But so they could sit on these eggs all day long, but without a rooster, like they weren't going to turn into chicks anyways. So Miss Trunchbull has been broody. She's still broody right now. She's been broody for the last 6 weeks.
Oh, whoa.
So I have to go into the coop a couple of times a day. I've never had one last this long. She goes, and she puffs up really big. And I'll reach in because they'll just sit on the eggs. They won't drink water or eat or anything. So I go in a couple times a day and pull her out. So I'll pull her out. And as I pull her out, she yells at me and she's got this mean look on her face. She's dark brown. And then she just starts pecking at me. And it doesn't hurt, but she is angry that I'm making her get off of these babies. And so she has earned the name Miss Trunchbull.
Hilarious.
I'm trying to think of any other like really fun, noticeable ones. I'm totally spacing.
That's okay.
Creamsicle.
Creamsicle, sure.
Creamsicle's our head hen. She's in charge of the Instagram account.
Obviously. I mean, with a name like Creamsicle, I feel like you should be in charge for sure. Okay, so I could legitimately talk about your chickens all day long. And if people aren't already following, go follow right now. We've got nest_and_nonsense. Go check it out. And I know that people won't keep listening forever, so we eventually have to stop this conversation. But before we do, I would love to know the number one lesson that you have learned from raising chickens that has translated into your business. That just the number one lesson. It doesn't even need to be about marketing. It could be anything. What's the biggest lesson that you've learned through this process?
The biggest lesson, and it does translate and connect with the business, is I tell my clients all the time to write your own rules. So again, being authentic, like you get to do this, you get to make it your own thing. We have learned a lot of lessons, raising chickens. We've done a lot of things the wrong way. And if you like, our chickens have a 16 by 20 prefab shed that is their coop that is fully finished out with drywall and nice laminate flooring. That it once was our office space. We lived full time in an RV. So it was our office space and then became the chicken coop. Nobody has finished out floors for their chickens. So we have some bougie chicken. We sing kumbaya at night. We tuck them into bed. We feed them organic feed that was milled 6 miles from our home. I mean, these are some happy darn chickens. And you could look at us and say, that's not crazy. And that is totally fine. But we have happy chickens. We have people who love the eggs that they're coming from. We have happy kids who have learned so much about life and the hard parts of life, and what happens when a farm animal dies and so many things. And that's because we tuned out the noise. We didn't let influencers tell us the right or wrong way. We just said, this is what works for us in the way that we are building our lives. And this is how we're going to do it. And it's working.
Oh, I love
Write
that.
your own rules.
What a solid lesson. Write your own rules. Because really like my daughter will say, I just wish I was more normal. And I'm like, who gets to define normal, right? Like you're saying that you want to be normal, but who are you comparing that to? So yeah, write your own rules. Ah, Danielle, you are delightful. And this was just plain fun. And I have some rapid fire questions for you. Are you willing? Okay.
Yes.
Question number 1. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. What is your definition of fun?
Definition of fun is the thing that you talk about and run out of breath and you can't stop. And everybody thinks of you when they think of that thing.
You painted a beautiful picture there when you talk until you run out of breath. Yeah, I've been known to do that. That is a beautiful picture. Thank you. How do you know that you are showing up as your authentic self?
It's easy and I lose track of time. It just works. It happens.
It does. I can't write that fast. Okay. How do you know that you are how do you channel your best self on your worst days?
Ooh, I love this question. I have a couple of go-to things that I'll do. So dance breaks are one of them. So I have a dance jams playlist that I will turn on. Sometimes I will put on a pair of heels if I work from home. And so sometimes that's just something like that. I'm like listing this off. This is not rapid fire.
It's perfect.
Some go-tos that I go.
No, it's perfect. Wait, I want to hear the next one. So you put on your heels or you have a dance break or...
Yep. Or I'll set a 5-minute timer and I'll curl my hair or I'll paint my nails. Just something that reminds me, like makes me feel when I'm put together, like like it lights me up. I feel good.
Yeah.
And sometimes, when you're kind of having a hard day, one or many of those things are off. Or like I haven't had enough water that day. So I'll go chug some water. And I'm like, oh yes, I'm taking care of my body. Yeah, it's simple things.
It is. But
5 minutes or less.
Simple doesn't always mean easy. And I think sometimes we avoid them because even though they are simple, they don't feel easy. And everything you described is easy. So love it. And something that you've said more than once, actually, I think that's the 3rd time, is what lights you up, right? And I think that's what you've found is the thing that lights you up. And you're sharing it with others, which is such a beautiful gift that you're giving to people. And I'm really appreciative that you chose Productive Joy as a place to give that gift. So thank you for choosing to share all of your brilliance.
Thank you for having me. This has just been wonderful. So much fun, as it should be.
Right, as it should be. I mean, aptly named, right? So my final question will not be easy because you have said so many beautiful things. And by nature, our brains can only hold on to one. So what's the one major idea that you want to leave people with today, Danielle?
Just pick one thing and decide you're going to show up for it. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but go do it.
Show up for the one thing. I love it. I love it. Listeners, my goodness, was this a masterclass in so many things. One, just find something that lights you up. Whatever that is, go attack that. And if you want some entertainment, you've got to go follow the chickens and learn all about them. But really, that's that lesson in how do you market yourself and how do you put yourself out there in a way that people want to receive? Because, if you'd have told me that I was going to be excited about watching chickens, I don't know that I would have jumped on that. And now I cannot wait. So create passion for others and give them the kinds of things that they really need that they may not know they need. And friends, I need you to do something with this episode. I don't care what the something is, but if you don't do something with it, then it doesn't change anything. And you're here to create more productive joy. So today, I need you to figure out a way to grab a nugget of wisdom or 6 and turn fun into action. Yay, Danielle, that was so great.